All right, today I'm talking about a Toyota pickup truck that I believe may be the last great Toyota pickup truck to buy. Now, why am I saying that? Because of what's under the hood. This is their dynamic force engine V6, and this is a 2023 Toyota Tacoma four-wheel drive top-of-the-line TRD. This is the last time they're putting a six-cylinder engine in them. As of 2024, Toyota says they're only going to have four-cylinder turbos and four-cylinder hybrid in the TRDs. They're ditching the six-cylinder engine, which to me is a gigantic mistake. If you ask any truck guy, they'll tell you Toyota screwed up when they took the V8 out of the Tundra and put the V6 twin turbo. People wanted a big, giant truck. They got a Tundra. They can tow a ton. They can last basically forever. And yeah, they get horrible gas mileage. But guess what? Guy brought me one of the twin turbo V6s in a Tundra, and it was even a hybrid. He only got 19 miles a gallon on the highway. So much for great gas mileage. Not only was it the twin turbo, but it was a hybrid. It still got crap gas mileage. So that's just a stupid idea. And in terms of these, people like these TRDs for their performance, what they can tow. Toyota, you're making a big mistake only going to four-cylinder turbo or four-cylinder hybrid, and here's why. You can take all the figures about horsepower and torque and throw them out the window because they are all relative. This puts out a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque. People get these to go off-road. They get them to tow boats, pull heavy trailers, throw a bunch of crap in the back. The V6, a lot of torque and takeoff power for pulling and towing, taking a boat in, especially out of the lake, right? Now the four-cylinder turbos, they can put out a lot of horsepower too, but it's a different kind of horsepower and torque. It comes at a much higher RPM. Now, when you're pulling the boat in or out or towing stuff, you really want to be revving your engine way up to get it going, and in most cases, Americans drive 96% automatic transmissions. You can't really rev it up like with a standard transmission, right? So they are not going to tow as good. They're not going to be as good off-road vehicles. They will not be able to carry as much weight in the bed without having too much acceleration lag. You don't spend this kind of money on a pickup truck to get yourself a dog. Now, of course, for ages, Tacomas have had four-cylinder engines. They started out with four-cylinder engines, but they don't have the power that a lot of people want. For example, my son's got a 2-year-old TRD with a V6. He also has an older one that's a regular Tacoma with a four-cylinder. The four-cylinder one is pretty much a dog acceleration. It's a great work truck for kicking equipment, saws, you name it around. It's not made for pulling a lot of weight. Some people want that. Yeah, and that's totally fine. My son's got a 4 and a 6. He's got 2 of them. But if you're going to buy a TRD, you want a bigger engine in it. Just like, to go even further, as I said before, you want a Tundra. The guys really wanted V8s. They didn't want a V6 engine. But, you know, I think Toyota's making a big mistake doing this downsizing and putting a four-cylinder turbo. Hence, this may be the last great truck that Toyota's built, as far as I'm concerned, for people who are serious about trucks. I'm not talking about people that just piddle around, take the kids to soccer games. I'm talking about people who want a serious truck. And this TRD, hey, it's got a serious price, so I would expect to get a serious truck. For example, this one was purchased for $45,000. You expect to get power and things that you want for that kind of money, right? You're going to buy something like a Ford Maverick pickup truck. Yeah, they cost a ton less, right? They don't have the power, and they certainly don't have the long life that Toyotas historically have. And going back to the Turbo 4 instead of the six-cylinder engine, guess what? The Turbo 4 is going to wear out faster. You put a smaller engine in the same size truck, it's not going to last as long. So not only do you not have the actual power when you're taking off, it won't last as long. So really, Toyota, why oh why are you getting rid of this engine that a lot of people like? Okay, Maybe you want your gas mileage ratings to go better for the EPA. Well, sell smaller 4-cylinder versions. But when you got your top-of-the-line Tacoma TRD, don't water it down in order to appease government bureaucrats. Now, the guy just bought this. He loves the truck. It's his work truck. You're going to see. He's got all his crap in it. It's a serious work truck. But he's kind of mad, and I don't blame him. They talked him into paying $1,000 for a tire warranty setup. And he's got a bad tire. Not only does he hate the idea, he's got to go through this warranty claim. They're not going to replace all 4 tires. Now, this is a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Excellent technology. It's all electronically controlled. You have vehicles like this, you're supposed to have all 4 tires the same exact size. All the 4-wheel drive system is electronically controlled. If you get a bad tire, you got to buy all 4 tires. They have to be the same exact circumference, because if one's worn more than another, the drive system is going to have to compensate. It'll mess around with the transfer cases because it keeps compensating because the tires aren't the same size. When a tire goes bad on one of these, you're supposed to buy all 4, but the warranty that he paid $1,000 for won't replace all 4 tires. He said, wait a second, I got a warranty, so when you fill us out, we're going to replace the bad tire. But they're not going to replace all 4 tires, which should have to. He paid for the warranty. Now, this just isn't limited to Toyota. One of your viewers had the same problem with the Subaru, and they're all-wheel drive except for their one little race car, right? So he had a tire blow under warranty. They gave him a tire, and he said, wait a second, this tire's got 20,000 miles on it. All the other ones do. You told me if I buy tires, I got to buy all 4. Now you're telling me you're not going to replace all 4 under the warranty? Oh, no, only the one is bad, so we're only replacing it. This is the kind of idiots that work at the dealerships that are crooked, dishonest. If you were paying out of your pocket, they would say, we got to replace all 4 tires. But when it's coming off of their, in quotes, warranty that you pay extra money for, and they don't replace them, do what this guy's doing. He's going to cancel the warranty. Stop paying on it. It's in his monthly payment. You know, it doesn't look like much because you add it to your monthly payment, but it's still $1,000, and they're not even being honest about it and replacing all 4 like they should. So, think twice before you buy one of these warranties if you've got a 4-wheel drive vehicle. $1,000 is $1,000, and when they don't do what they're supposed to do, hey, don't buy such things. Look through the truck, you can see it's dirty. It is his work truck. He is not fooling around. There's his work clothes. There's his work tools. He's got tarps and everything on the back. This guy isn't screwing around. He's using this thing as a work truck. Now, as any truck, you're going to get much worse gas mileage in cities than on the highway. You got like 30 on the highway. For a truck this size, 4-wheel drive, that's great gas mileage. He says he gets 16, 18 in town, which is typical what you're going to get. But on the highway, hey, 30 is really good gas mileage because Toyota Dynamic Force V6. It's got dual fuel injection. It's got fuel injectors on the intake on all 6, but it's also got gasoline direct injectors and fancy computer systems switch back and forth. That's how it can have all this power, but still get 30 miles a gallon on the highway. And I find this hilarious because if you remember the video I did last year, the guy with the 2023 Tundra with the V6 twin turbo, he only got 19 miles a gallon on the highway. And this guy's getting 30. The V6 engine, definite success in the Tacoma, but in the big giant Tundra, definitely a failure as far as I'm concerned. They should have stuck to the V8s. As a matter of fact, this guy says this will probably be the last Toyota he ever buys, and then he's going to go back to a V8, and he's probably going to get a Ford because, as he said, Ford is probably the only company that's still serious about building big V8 trucks, which a lot of people want. As a matter of fact, he was going to buy a Tundra, but they stopped putting the V8 engines in it. So, he's happy with it so far, but he is a V8 man. They want the real takeoff and torque and pulling power. They just have more. There's a reason they made V8 engines in the first place. And a lighter vehicle like this, V6 is fine. But you want a heavy, full-size truck, really, V8's the only way to go. Go inside this Tacoma. You can see it still has some logical stuff to it. Look, a real parking brake, not some electronic pile of crap. This is what guys that work want. They want something like this. Now, unfortunately, it also has a start button. You can't do anything about that. They make them all that way. But when we talk about the four-wheel drive, it's all very simple. You can go two-wheel drive, four-wheel low, four-wheel high, just by turning a switch. Look at the screen. It's in the dash. That's what I find hilarious, because I like them in the dash. It looks good, right? It fits in with a truck. Toyota, I don't know what you got thinking, but all your other vehicles, they got that monitor sticking up here. Yep. It looks like somebody glued it into the car. This is a nice one. It's right here where you can actually see the thing, and it's not blocking your view. This obviously was not an afterthought like their other ones are. Who knows what they got going on with their engineers. This does have intelligent cruise control, but the owner of this hates cruise control, so it meant nothing to him. But you got 400 watts of AC 120, dual climate control. I mean, this is a loaded truck. And there's quite a bit of room in the back seat when he takes all his crap out of it. The man's like me. He doesn't want anybody riding with him. I go motorcycle, you know, with one seat on it. Well, he just fills the seats up so nobody else can ride with him. So he's got his own private vehicle there. But now he has to clean it because he's going to ride with me and break his own rule. So we'll start it up, back it up. You can see it's got a decent camera so you can see what's happening. And it's not as heavy as a Tundra, but it's got enough weight that it should take these Rhode Island horrendous road bumps in stride. We'll see what happens. Here we go. Pretty smooth ride for a truck that's raised this high, you know? We'll see how it takes off. There's nobody coming that way, nobody that way. Here we go. And he's hanging on. I heard a couple of squeals there before the traction control kicked in, but you can see it's got a lot of pulling power. And if you replace this nice six-cylinder engine with a four-banger, it would take a lot longer for it to spool up and get that pickup, and you wouldn't be getting great four-cylinder gas mods then. Before this, he had a four-cylinder, and he just told me he didn't have any power at all. He got his way, he got this V6. He is definitely someone who would not buy this vehicle if it had the four-cylinder engine in it. And there's a lot of people, believe me, that feel that way. Now, there's a lot of people that'll buy a regular Tacoma with a four-cylinder. They don't want power. They want a reliable truck that'll run forever. But this is a TRD. It's supposed to have all the bells and whistles, and it's certainly not a turd. They're going to have a hard time selling them, if you ask me. If all they're going to have is a turbo and a hybrid version, they're going to chase a lot of their clientele away. Probably the last great truck that Toyota's building, the way things seem to be going. Not a fan of the turbo, the hybrid, and that's all they're going to have in 2024. They're retiring the 6. It was bad enough that they retired the V8 and the Tundra. Now they're retiring the V6 and this. Now, to me, that makes no sense. They don't understand Americans and what Americans want in an upper line truck. They understand the lower line trucks. There's no arguing that. But the upper line trucks, hey, they should have left this thing well enough alone. So if you're thinking about getting one, you better hurry up, because there's not too many 2023s left. And when there's just 2024s and up, you won't be able to get this set up anymore. All right, what do people say about Toyota Priuses? They're ugly and slow. Well, they did them over in 2023, as I'm going to show you with this model, and it might change your mind a little. Now, there's no way you can call this thing ugly. It is a sharp-looking car. Okay, the old ones are ugly. There's no arguing it, but look. I mean, there's the ugly one. Just look at this. I mean, it really made him sharp-looking. Okay, so they're not ugly. Well, slow, okay. Last year's model, 2022, granted, it only had like 121 horsepower. Yeah, you know, it's electric horsepower partly, so the torque is a little bit different, but this isn't 121 horsepower. This is an all-wheel drive version. It's 196 horsepower. It is almost 200 horsepower. We'll find out when we drive it around. But through the miracle of Toyota engineering, he can get 48 miles a gallon on the highway and even better in town. So they figured out how to get more horsepower and still get great gas mileage. And if you know anything about Toyota Priuses, they've been making these things over 20 years. If anybody has hybrid cars down, it's Toyota. Eventually things go bad. Of course, the batteries will wear out. From my experience with the Priuses, the earliest I ever saw a Prius battery go out was like 225,000 miles. You can't really argue with that, right? And I've seen them go further. Plus, there's so many of them out there, you can get aftermarket batteries that are a lot cheaper if it does finally go out. And for example, this one's got a 10-year warranty on the battery. Most things you're not getting a 10-year warranty on, right? Toyota pretty much knows what they're doing when they make hybrid cars. That's why they made the smart bet. They put their money in hybrids. Now all these companies, GM, Ford, that are throwing billions into electric cars, well, they're all kind of scratching their heads now going, oh gee, just the other day, almost 50% of the Ford dealerships said, we are not going to sell electric cars. They don't want to sell them because they got to invest over $500,000 at each dealership, right? And a bunch of car companies are doing that. First they said, please don't send any more electric cars until we sell the ones we have because nobody wants them. And now they're saying, please don't ever send us any electric cars. We don't want to sell them. Well, guess what? These things are selling like hotcakes. And of course, you're talking about Toyota hybrids. You're not talking about Ford, GM, Chrysler hybrids, which I do have to say personally, from my experience working on them, are often rolling piles of junk. These things aren't rolling piles of junk. So not only are you getting a better vehicle, one that's been made for over 2 decades, you've got Toyota quality instead of really iffy GM or Ford or Chrysler quality. Well, the owner just told me before this he had a Ford Escape hybrid. The engine was knocking on him. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up, you know? I mean, I'm just telling you the truth about cars, and I just have to laugh because I'm not buying them. Other people, and he's even laughing because he got rid of the stupid thing, right? And bought something that odds are is not going to fall apart like that Ford did. The Atkinson cycle engine, in this case, it's a 2-liter engine, so it's a decent sized engine. It's a more horsepower, and it's got the usual hybrid electric system hooked up to it to give it boost, to regenerate energy. It's a dual cooling systems, one for the electric system, one for the engine. And as you can see, it is the modern version. One of the reasons it gets the better gas mileage is it's got a high pressure fuel pump. So this thing has, interestingly enough, regular fuel injection system and a high pressure fuel system. So we'll take a look inside. Let's do the door. Nice solid door. Here we go. Now we got the key. We'll turn it on. Here comes the main screen. And look, the main screen's better designed. It's not blocking anything. It's big enough, but it's low enough that it doesn't block anything at all. Show the energy flow, everything you want. Now, it's got this nice full carbon fiber. That looks nice. And look, I like it because it's like a regular car. Anybody can do it. And you can run in EV mode too if you want. Of course, by law, it's got to make a sound. There's the sound. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand why they don't have a universal sound. This is different than other cars. You're going to have to memorize every car and every noise that it makes because they all make different noises. A regular car sounds like a motor, right? You know it's a car. But all these things make so many different noises, you're going to have to memorize which car makes which noise. Is that a car? Is that a guy with a stereo going? What is it? Hey, I mean, if they're going to have electric type cars, they should at least standardize the noise that they make. And certainly not have it customizable for you, the driver. I mean, what, you're going to have it play Van Halen Panama or something? But unlike some of the crazy electric cars, check this out. It's got a regular dash too. So you're used to driving with a regular car. You're looking at what you normally see. This is extra here. You don't have to look over there. You can look here and you're not being distracted by having to look over here. You're looking right in front like you normally do. And being a hybrid's got all kinds of electric supplies to it. You can turn the traction control off if you want. Of course, it's an electric car, so it's got electric parking brake too. I mean, that's just the way it's gonna go. Fancy version, so it's got a sunroof, and as you can see in the back seats have a reasonable amount of space. And look, the back looks cool now. It's no longer an ugly car, like I said before. He says he's got a lot of crap in here. Boy, he must be pretty anal, because it looks clean to me. I don't know what he's talking about. You got a reasonable size here, and of course, when you flip them down, it's basically like a hatchback. You can fit a lot of stuff into if you need to. It's pretty sharp looking. I mean, it's really got something going for it. Let's take it for a spin. Nice, wide, panoramic backup camera. You can see quite well, because to me, it sounds like a regular car where something's falling apart. I would have made a different sound myself, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? We're just road testing it. Of course, it's super quiet because it's a hybrid. Now the motor kicked in, and it's not particularly loud. They definitely improved the handling, too. We'll go too fast around this curb, and hey, there's no tires squealing or anything. It just handles like a dream. We're going to take it to our little drag strip and see what this 196 horsepower can do. I went over 30, and what did it do? It turned orange. Let's check that out again. See, now it's orange. It's warning me I'm driving too fast. I don't know if I like that though. Here we go to our little drag strip. And we'll see what this 196 horsepower can do. Nobody to the left, nobody to the right. Here we go. We'll get up to the top of the hill. Now I realize, of course, it still has the electronic CVT transmission. I'm not a big fan of that, but of course all the Priuses are that way. They've always been that way. They've always been CVT. They're electronic CVTs, which are a lot more sophisticated, but they're still CVTs. So, there's nobody behind us. Let's give it the gas and see what happens. It's not the old slow Prius. You can see, gets up and going. We are going 62 pretty quick. Not a race car, but I mean, hey. And let's say you're going 50 or so, and you got to pass somebody with Ford. It's picking up pretty quick, as you can see. It's not like the old Priuses. I gotta say, there's very little wind noise in this thing. It's pretty quiet. The old ones tended to be pretty noisy. When I road tested the old Priuses, my wife took one to a trip to Galveston. She hated it. She said, don't get me one of those, they're too noisy. She would not complain about this. It's much quieter. Warning us, we're going over the speed limit. No one knows why the speed limit on this road is 35. It's a straight road to nowhere. It's not the restricted view that Priuses used to have. They've got a better window system than they used to have. That's for sure. I don't see any particular blind spots. It's better designed than the old one. Whee! Hey, it started to burn a little rubber there before the traction control took over. So definitely not the old, slow, ugly Prius by any stretch of the imagination. Now, if only they could build one with a regular automatic transmission with gears or a manual transmission, then this thing would be a real screamer, but I doubt if they'll ever do that because they're pretty tied into this electronic CVT design. But now I know why I don't like that noise, because it sounds like a worn out wheel bearing rotating. I don't like it. As a mechanic, it annoys me. It makes me think the wheel bearings are worn out. I would have picked a different sound. A Toyota Prius that is not ugly and is not slow. And the only thing bad I got to say is I don't like the sound it makes when it's running on electricity, because to me, it sounds like a wheel bearing going bad, and that destroys my mechanic's peace of mind. I would have rather had something like, I'm not a Hyundai fan, but their electric cars kind of hum like a bunch of angels. That's okay. This sounds too much like a wheel bearing going bad. I would change that sound. But other than that, phenomenal gas mileage, beautiful looking car. Hey, you want to get a hybrid, this is the baby of all hybrids, and now it's grown up. It isn't a baby anymore, but it still gets phenomenal gas mileage, probably will run forever, only now it rides better, has more horsepower, and it really looks good. It's not like those old, ugly ones. They finally joined the 21st century, put some style into it, and hey, I can guarantee you, they're going to be selling the heck out of these things. People are going to go more and more towards hybrids, as even the American car manufacturers are realizing, uh-oh, people don't want to buy these all-electric cars. Let's start making hybrids. But then, of course, Ford, then they find out, oh, gee, we can't get enough hybrid batteries for our Mavericks we're making in Mexico. And originally, the standard Maverick was made in Mexico with a hybrid system. Now it's an option because they couldn't get enough batteries. So they're making more of them non-hybrid because they couldn't have enough batteries. But that's typical for Ford. Farley, they should have fired him years ago. Find somebody who really knows how to manage a business. Toyota knows how to manage business, and this is what they have. Years of refining instead of years of, how can we make it cheaper? I got an idea. Let's make them in Mexico instead of the United States. Well, made in Japan, that's what you want. He had to call all around to get it at MSRP, but he did, so he paid like 36,000 bucks for this car. That's 10 grand cheaper than the average car, and this is not an average car by any stretch of the imagination. Some people hate hybrids, some people love them. If you're thinking about it, my advice is road test one of these first. A 2020 Corolla hatchback. If you wondered what happened to the Toyota Matrix, well, it morphed into this, but Toyota was too embarrassed to call it the Toyota Matrix. Here's my wife's 07 Matrix, made in Cambridge, Ontario. Originally, they were called Toyota Corolla Matrixes. They shortened it to Matrix. Then they didn't make anymore. And then I guess Toyota realized people don't all want big, giant SUVs. They like little ones, too. So they came up with the Toyota Corolla hatchback. And really, other than the back being at a steeper angle, so there's not as much room, it's just the modernized version of the Matrix. Upgraded and stuff. It does have less space inside because they went more for style. The big Mazda type style, instead of having a little more up forward with more room inside. Now, the guy bought this one used because he did not want a CVT transmission. He was going to buy a brand new one, and the only thing they offer is CVT. But this is a 2020. They had nice manual transmissions with 6 speeds. So that's what he got. Now today, unfortunately, all the Corollas only come in the United States with the CVT transmission. I'm not personally a fan. They're cheaper to make. Now my son has a Corolla S with the CVT, loves it. Lots of pickup, he says, gets great gas mileage. I don't like them because they are cheaper to make. I don't particularly like the way they feel. So if I had to get a new car, if somebody smashed into one of our Toyotas or Lexus, I would be in a quandary because I really like this car. Fit a lot of stuff in it. We moved back between Tennessee and Rhode Island, but I can only get it in a CVT, where that would probably make me end up buying either a RAV4 with a conventional 4-cylinder engine or a Toyota Camry with a conventional 4-cylinder engine, because they still have conventional automatic transmissions. Now you might wonder, how come those still have the automatics and these are CVTs? Well, the answer is simple, really, because the CVTs are cheaper to make and this is a less expensive car. You'll notice that more expensive cars today, most of them still have real automatic transmissions. They don't have CVT transmissions in them because the people don't like the way they feel, the way they go. And since the Toyota automatic transmissions last so long, why you'd want to switch to a CVT transmission is beyond me. But you would have no choice today. If you get a standard, it's going to have to be a used one. If you want a new one, it's going to be a CVT. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Toyota makes the best CVT transmissions in the world. But still, I just don't personally like them. They are cheaper to make, and of course, if something's cheaper to make, generally they don't last as long. They make the CVTs for better gas mileage, right? Well, this guy's got the 6-speed. If he's driving 50 miles an hour, he's gotten over 50 miles a gallon. Now, he normally drives it, like when he came here, 80, 85 miles an hour, but he's still got 41 miles a gallon because manual transmission. A CVT in one of these will not get 50-something miles a gallon. They're rated at 41. This one gets 41 going 85, but going 50, 55, they can get over 50 miles a gallon. There's a big advantage to having standard transmissions, or manual transmissions, than there is having a CVT. The CVTs, yeah, they're efficient, but only to a point. When you look under the hood, we have Toyota's modern 4-cylinder engine. It is a 2-liter engine, and it is Toyota's masterpiece of design that it's got regular fuel injectors, and it also has GDI fuel injectors. That's how this thing can get 50 miles a gallon going 55 miles an hour with a standard transmission. It puts out more horsepower than the Matrix. The Matrix is only 126, and it's a 1.8-liter engine with just conventional fuel injection. Hey, I mean, the thing is 17 years old. They certainly go forward in time. You got more horsepower, and you get better gas mileage, so you really can't beat that. Now, this is a baby. He's only got 28,000 miles on it. He bought it used. He's done nothing but change the engine oil and filter. As a Toyota, I had that RAV4 Prime here the other day. It had 160, and the only thing the guy changed on it was the engine oil and filter and the air filter. You know, I mean, these things are well made. There's no arguing that. Of course, when you look at the old Matrix from 07, this 2020 is quite a bit more stylish. You know, there's no arguing that. You know? Yeah, it's got a little bit smaller trunk in the back, but it's got a lot more style to it. As we look inside, it's got more comfortable bucket seats, and I personally go for plain old upholstery. This stuff will last forever. Now, as you can see, the back seat, yes, it's smaller than the Matrix. The Matrix has much more legroom because this is a little bit less squat vehicle, but don't think it's a tinny-made car. It's a pretty solid built car. As you can see, as we open the door, where was this baby made? Made in Japan. That's what you want. You get a car in this price range that's made in Japan that'll probably last 3, 4, 500,000 miles. It certainly would be a wise choice for you. Now, of course, 96% of Americans drive automatic transmissions, so most people are going to buy the CVT transmission. Like I said, Toyota does probably make the best CVT transmissions in the world. They're not like the Jetco crap that Nissan manufactures and puts in lots of other manufacturers' cars. They buy the transmissions from them, put it in their own models. They're not that Jatco garbage. They're acing, Toyota makes them, and they are good for what they are. They're just cheaper to make, and from my experience, they do not last as long. I have seen, like this Matrix, which really is a Toyota Corolla Matrix, right? Corollas, Camrys, automatic transmissions, 500,000 miles. All they did was change the fluid and filter every once in a while, and they were still shifting pretty good. They're gonna last a long time. Why they go to CVTs? They don't last as long. It's just a fact. You know, I mean, they don't want to build cars that last forever. Although, maybe this 6-speed manual transmission will last forever. But as I said, you can't buy them anymore. They don't sell them in the United States. They only sell the CVTs. Wonder where he found this used Toyota. He bought it at a Ford dealer. He listened to me, you know. I tell people, go to a different dealer and buy their other cars that they took as trade-ins, because they can't give you this best car in the world stuff because it was a Ford dealer. They don't want their salesmen putting down Fords because that's what their business is, right? So, hey, it's a good way to buy them. Okay, now, even the owner doesn't like to push to start, but that's what it came with, so everything is that way these days. So we will turn it on. We're not going to start it because we're going to analyze it. Detected it. Okay. We got a Toyota. Standalone diagnosis. And pretty fast because it's a new car. Now it does the topology, does all the CAN system, so as it's scanning, we'll take a look around. Now, yes, it has the electric parking brake, which I don't like, but they're all going to that crap. And it does have that screen that, to me, is a little intrusive. It kind of looks like they glued it in instead of building it in. It's like an afterthought. You know, they could have done a little bit better job integrating. It works fine and everything, but to me, it's kind of a distraction. And, of course, it's got all the bells and whistles for intelligent cruise control. Things to control on your steering wheel. Nice shaped steering wheel. A little chrome and black. Black interior. Doesn't have a sunroof. It's a Corolla. It does have codes, but I don't think it's going to be much of anything because the big things are all green. The telematics. Well, let me tell you, telematics, yeah, I can tell you things about that. Too much telematics, too much of this wireless communications, and things often screw up. We'll see what this says. User all communication codes. Lost communication with body control. Missing message. Lost communication with instrument panel cluster. Missing message. Lost communication with navigation control. Module. Missing message. You get all kinds of information about that. Lost communication with body control module. The BCM is not receiving or sending a signal. The harness could be weak. Yet everything's working on this car. This is the problem with all modern cars. They have so much baloney communication going on that even a Toyota has 3 stupid little codes for lost communication. I see this all the time, more and more, even in Toyotas. It doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Now, he bought this thing used. A lot of times, when they sat on the lot, if the battery got too low, guess what happens? The BCM loses communication because the voltage is too low. So it could easily been that. Now, we're just going to erase it before we take it for a road test, because it easily could have been just low battery voltage. See, it erased it, so it's not a permanent code. Now, we're going to start her up, and we're going to look at data system. So, here we go to the main data. 27,862 miles, so it's not lying. That's what it says here. Nobody set the odometer back or anything. Mass airflow sensor's doing good. Remember, it's color coded. Red would be bad. Alternator's charging good. Gives all the information for the electronic throttle in case it has a problem. It's all black and good data. This doesn't have any problems. Shows you the BM voltage, the module, and hey, you know, it's fine. It's not like it's running out of electricity now. I'm assuming the battery was just low from it sitting on a lot to trip those codes. See, the high side, it does have the GDI. It shows you the target fuel pressure, and it even shows you what's going on with the regular fuel injectors too, the port fuel injectors. Shows you how many grams of fuel it's using per second. And there's a lot of data on these things. And of course now it's idling, so it shows you that it's the port mode. If we were driving around, it would switch back to the GDI back and forth. It's a rather complex system, but when it's working, it works quite well. Valve timing information, that's all fine too. Shows you the temperature of the catalytic converter. Shows you that it has 0 misfire counts, which isn't surprising. These things can run forever. Information, as you can see, goes on and on and on. It even shows you the electric water pump speed, the actual speed versus the target speed, and it's pretty close. 800, 775 RPMs. Here's a lot of information. Something ever does go wrong, a guy like me with a machine like that's going to be able to pinpoint it fast. Here we go. We got to turn the parking brake off and get the interlock, put it in reverse. And although I don't like where the screen is, it's a nice big screen, so backing up is pretty easy with this thing. And as you can see here, he was driving 85 miles an hour, so we only got 41.3 miles a gallon coming here. Now here comes the test of the Rhode Island horrendous roads, all bumpy, and really, I gotta say, for a car this small, it takes these bumps pretty good. Hey, it's taking them better than the last Honda I tried out. It was a lot stiffer, and this actually has a pretty good ride. I got to admit, it probably rides about 200% better than my Matrix, which bounces all over the place, but it runs forever. Now, they've really changed the suspension on this modern one. It rides much better than the Matrix. It's much higher tech than the old one. It still handles really well, too, but it's a lot smoother ride. We're waiting for things to clear out. They're clearing out. Here we go. Yep, you heard a little rubber going there. Hey, it's a zippy little car. Realize it is a manual transmission. The CVTs are not zippy like this. Nowhere near as zippy. This is a lot more fun to drive. The manual transmission. That handles great, smooth ride, really. This thing has a range of more than 500 miles if you take it conservative. They can go a long way in between filling it up. You do not get range anxiety with this car at all. The only people who get range anxiety are the guys who own the gas stations, and they're mad because you don't stop in and buy gas very often. Well, guess what? These things sell like hotcakes because people do want little ones, and they found that out, and now they went back to making them in Japan. So at least from that perspective, these are still made in Japan. The best made cars. And for the price of these, you can get your hand on one of them. But like I said, if you don't want a CVT, you gotta get an older one, because they only had the manual transmissions up to a couple years ago. Then they all went to CVTs in the Corollas. Not a fan. I mean, they're still good CVTs as far as CVTs go, but you know, I don't like them. I would either get this or I would get a RAV4 or a Camry that still has a real automatic transmission, because there's a reason they still have real automatic transmissions in those, because people like the way they drive. They still get phenomenal gas mileage. Yes, it costs more money to make an automatic transmission. They're more complex, but as far as I'm concerned, they're better than the CVTs. These things are generally anywhere from 15 to 20 grand less than the price of an average new car these days if you buy it new. So you're getting a pretty good deal if you're looking for something like this, if you can find it. A lot of the dealers are marking them up $5,000, $10,000. So if you're looking at one, you can't find it in your area. Custer in Nashville did. They wanted too much in Nashville. He looked around. He found one 10 grand cheaper in Boulder, Colorado. So he flew out there, went skiing, and came back with his new Corolla. There's nothing wrong with doing that either. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.